Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my very first video on this channel. I'm very happy to have you guys joining me with this video. Today I'm going to be discussing Season 6, Episode 5 of The Walking Dead. It's zombies, yo. Alright, so before I get started with talking about the episode, I just want to talk a little bit about this channel. So I've been doing videos on YouTube for a while. You know, I used to do videos a lot. I took a break with college and work, but I'm back now, and I wanted to start a new channel because I've been watching The Walking Dead this season, and you know, I've been watching The Walking Dead from the beginning, but this season has really stood out to me. It's a marvelous season, and I used to do Walking Dead videos back in season 3. If you guys were at my old channel, you know that, and I really enjoyed doing it. But I mean, it was kind of a lot of work because I did it right after the episode aired. I ran down and recorded the video, but I'm gonna do it the day after, kind of, you know, gather some notes, watch the episode a couple times, really get my stuff together, and yeah, record it the next day. So basically this channel is gonna be about zombies, obviously by the name of the channel. Mostly The Walking Dead. You know, I'm going to be doing a lot of Walking Dead videos, reviews, predictions, summaries, my thoughts, that kind of stuff, maybe some question and answering. So mostly The Walking Dead, some other zombie shows and movies. I have a lot of zombie games, as you guys can see by the gameplay. Black Ops 3 is coming out, so I plan on getting that and giving you guys some zombie gameplay. So if you guys are interested in zombies, please subscribe to this channel and let me know what you guys want to see. So with that being said, let's get started in talking about this episode. Season 6, Episode 5, called Now. And I did like this episode. I don't think it was a great episode, and definitely not the best episode that we've seen thus far in this season. But it was a good episode. Was it needed? Yeah, we saw a lot of new things that were needed. We learned about Maggie's pregnancy, which I kind of knew about from the very first episode and her and Glenn's exchange. But a lot of people didn't know about Maggie, that she's pregnant. So Maggie's pregnant, which is great. And then Carl and Ron's fight was great. Well, kind of. I'll get talking about that a little later. Jesse and Rick finally kissed, which was cool. Tara and Denise kissed, which I think was awesome. And then when we saw the big mega herd get to Alexandria, which is going to lead up to maybe one of the best scenes of all time. I hope it has potential to be that. So let's get started talking about the episode. Right away, we see Rick coming to Alexandria with the big herd behind him. And I had a couple problems with this scene because, A, they built up that whole RV scene with Rick and didn't show how he got out of it. You know, a lot of people thought, you know, he's going to get the RV started, someone's going to come save him, he's going to jump out. You know, I really wanted to see how he got out of that. So, you know, if they would have showed that, we would have saw Rick probably jump out of the driver's door and just sprint over to Alexandria, right? That's kind of what they got us assuming that he did. So if he did that, you know, assuming he sprinted the whole way, I feel like Rick would have been a ways ahead of the zombies. Of course, for theatrical purposes, it looks a lot better with the zombies very close to Rick as he's running to Alexandria. But thinking of it logically, if Rick's, let's say, 10 minutes away from Alexandria and he's sprinting the whole way, he's going to be a good ways ahead of the zombies. So, you know, I thought that was a little far-fetched, but, you know, I saw why they did that also. I thought it was very cool with the zombies kind of, you know, very close, and he's sprinting very frantically. Open the gate now, hurry up. So I did like it either way. It was cool. So this episode, you know, we did not see a lot of main characters. We didn't see Carol at all, I don't think. And then we didn't see much of Michonne, a little bit, and then like one scene of Morgan. And then obviously we didn't see Daryl because he's off doing his own thing. So with this season, it's very interesting what they're doing. I watched another review by somebody, and they said it's very similar to kind of Game of Thrones, and in a way it is. They're doing this whole first half of the season is all in one day, which is very crazy to think about it. You know, they have, it's going to be 8 episodes all for just one day. That's very cool. It's kind of like Wet Hot American Summer in a way. No, but I think it's very cool, and I feel like they're kind of trying to be fair with the characters, right? So the very first episode was, you know, an episode for all the people that were out dealing with the herd. The second episode was an episode for all the people that were inside of Alexandria, and Carol and Morgan, of course. Third episode was Glenn, Michonne, those guys, a little bit of Rick. And then the fourth episode was all Morgan, and then and then now it's this episode, which is about the characters we really haven't seen yet. So, you know, Jesse, a little bit of Rick, Maggie. We hadn't seen much of Maggie yet. And then, let's see, Spencer, a little bit of Rosita, Carl and Ron, a little exchange there. So, you know, a couple characters that we haven't really seen yet. We got to see them a little bit in this episode. So I feel like they're really trying to be fair with the airtime that they're giving their characters. And, you know, that makes sense. You got to pay these guys and whatever. So, but yeah, right away, you know, my thought was, why would Rick bring the whole herd back to Alexandria? You know, he has a couple other options. He could try to, you know, bring them and connect the two herds, which would be a little dangerous. You know, he'd be risking Daryl and Sasha and Abraham, but he could also try to radio Daryl and, you know, try to like be like, Daryl, come over here, you know, corral these zombies up and take them away. You know, I don't see why he didn't do that. I think he still had his walkie-talkie, right? The wolves didn't shoot his walkie or take it, so he still had his walkie. He could have walkied Daryl and had Daryl come and take the zombies. I don't know. I had a couple problems with that, but I'm okay with what they did. I am. So we see that Rick's hand is fine. He's got it bandaged up. He's not going to lose his hand. Chill with that, guys. We learn that Judith is fine. We don't actually see her, but Ron says that Carl was out on the porch with Judith. A lot of people were worried that Enid had taken Judith because of the baby food. One of the wolves had some baby food. You know, I really don't see why the wolves would want to take the baby. I didn't really get why people thought they would take a baby. They would have no need for a baby. So I think Judith is fine. We didn't see her, but I'm assuming that she's going to be fine. So I'm going to start talking about Deanna. We saw a lot of Deanna tonight. Personally, I'm not a big fan of what they're doing with Deanna. I think, you know, every time we see her, it's just kind of slow. And of course, when I watch The Walking Dead, you know, I want to see zombies and I want to see zombie kills and stuff. And when we see her, we don't see that, you know. We almost see that because she's starting to kind of look and act like a zombie in a way. You know, a lot of people are saying that she looks like she's like 10 years older this season than she did last season. I think they're doing that on purpose to make her kind of look like she's a little worn out. You know what I mean? And so she's starting to lose it in this episode. You know, they're trying to get her to come back, and she's just walking off like she's a zombie. She's starting to lose it, and then we have that scene in the kitchen with drunk Spencer where he kind of snaps her out of it. And I really did like this scene because Spencer, he had that big pantry scene where he told everyone, you know, you can't just take everything. We gotta let it last. And then he takes everything. So then she gets pissed at him. She's like, "Damn it, Spencer!" And he just snaps at her like, "You're damn it to me. Like, look at you. You killed Reggie. Is your fault." Their brother, Adrian, something like that. He's your fault. Everything is your fault. You made us weak. And I really like that. You know, I hope that's when she snaps out of it. I really hope so. So we finally see Deanna kill a zombie, kind of kill a zombie. A lot of people don't think she knows how to kill a zombie. You know, we've been like 2.5, 3 years into the apocalypse. I'm sure she's seen somebody take down a walker, so she probably knows that it has to be in the head. I think she was just taking out some anger and frustration out on the zombie, stabbing it a bunch of times, and then Rick comes up, puts the zombie down. I don't think he needed to do that. I think she would have been fine without him, but he does it, and then we have that exchange between the two where she says, you know, or he says, "You need to be the leader," and she says, "No, you do." And I think they both need to be the leader. You know, Rick needs to lead the group in like really turmoil times, you know, with the big zombie herd, with the wolves, with, you know, the next group that we're going to see, the Saviors or whoever it is. Rick is in charge during those times. But with little things like inside Alexandria, between people's jobs, you know, what people need to be doing. We saw Deanna with the crops. I like that scene where she was, you know, mapping out where the crops need to go. She needs to be in charge of that. So they can both be in charge. You know, we don't need to just have one leader. Deanna can do things too. She shouldn't just take a back seat and let Rick do everything. She needs to do things too. So I think they both need to have a little responsibility. So she finally kills that zombie. She says she wants to fight, so that's good. Hopefully she's kind of snapping out of it. You know, when I saw her losing her mind, I kind of thought that maybe she was going to be the representation of Douglas in the comics. If you guys have read the comics, you know that Douglas, you know, kind of loses his mind, and then during No Way Out, when the zombies come into Alexandria, he thinks he has to fight, so he comes out there. starts to shoot the zombies, and then something terrible happens. I'm not going to tell you guys what happens. If you guys want to find out what happens, go watch Make a Path Presents video explaining No Way Out. It is a great video. I've watched it like 4 times. It's a really good video. So I definitely recommend going and watching that, because we're about at that point in The Walking Dead. So definitely go check that out if you guys do not know. So Deanna, yeah, hopefully she snapped out of it, and Spencer, you know, he could have been the one that snapped her out of it. I do like Spencer. I feel like he's maybe going to be one of the last surviving Alexandrians, him or Aaron. I don't know if Jesse's, I hope Jesse survives, but I could see her going down like she does in the comics. Very, very sad. So let's talk a little bit about Ron and Carl. That fight between them. A little slap fight, little pussy fight. I don't know. It was weak. You know, I can't believe somebody from The Walking Dead, from like the cast or the crew, doesn't, you know, hire somebody to teach Carl how to fight, give him a little coordination. I mean, he goes in there and just kind of slaps him. It was kind of weak. I don't know. I thought that fight scene was a little weak. But Ron, I don't trust Ron at all. We see him looking at Carl and then grabbing his knife right away in that scene. Obviously, he wasn't going to do anything. There's a bunch of people there. But then when he goes and goes up there and talks to Rick, my first thoughts was that he was going to actually try to push Rick off. Obviously, that wasn't going to happen. Rick would have, you know, reversed it and pushed him off, which would have been better. I thought that was going to happen, but it didn't. And he's asking Rick to teach him how to shoot, which is dangerous, because maybe he's going to try to shoot Rick or Carl. I don't know. I feel like he's going to try to kill one or both of them, and maybe he could be the one that ultimately, you know, I don't want to give anything away here, but changes one of the characters, if you guys know what I mean, physically. So go check out No Way Out. I think you're gonna know what I mean if you guys seen the No Way Out story arc. So go check out that video. But yeah, Ron, don't trust him. I loved the scene between Tara and Denise. I thought that was really cool. A lot of people thought Denise and Eugene were gonna start clicking, but Tara and Denise, I really like that. You know, she comes up to her, she doesn't say anything. She just grabs her and kisses her, and then Tara's like, "What is it?" And she's like, "It's the end of the world." No, it's not. I thought that was really cool. I really liked that scene. And then, of course, we saw Rick and Jesse finally kiss. So there's a lot of romance in this episode. Slower episode, you know. Definitely kind of needed the romance. You know, I thought that was nice. And those crazy episodes where there's a million zombies, you can't really fit the romance in there. You know, you don't want the romance in those ones. Those crazy ones are the ones that you want to just be insane. So. This episode, you know, a lot of romance in it. I like that. I do like Jessie. I really hope she doesn't go down in No Way Out, you know, but I could definitely see that happening. And then Rick might lose it again. Who knows if he gets close to her. We don't know. But, yeah, another thing that happened in this episode, we found out that Maggie was pregnant, which is big. I liked the announcement, and she just announced it to Aaron. I don't know if she's going to announce it to everyone before the herd comes or what. You know, and then they would try to maybe take extra care of her and maybe not let her fight just because she's carrying another one. But I thought that was really cool, and I was really expecting to see a sign from Glenn in this episode, whether it be, you know, when she was down in the sewers with Aaron, and we have that gate, and a couple zombies come up, and she was saying, "I just need to see his face." I actually thought that right when she said that, a zombie was going to come up, and it was actually going to be Glenn. Obviously, I was hoping that wasn't going to happen, but I thought that might happen. But thank God it did not happen. But I was expecting at the very end of the episode to see a flare go up in the sky, because we know that Glenn had a flare with him. So really hoping to see a sign from Glenn. We did not. A lot of people are still thinking, "Oh, Glenn's dead. Glenn's alive." I'm making a video explaining to everyone Glenn's fate after this video, so make sure you guys check that out, because I'm gonna explain it. I'm gonna give you guys the facts, okay? Whether he is dead or not. So that's pretty much all the big stuff that happened in the episode. At the beginning of the episode, when everyone was kind of by the walls with all the zombies, Rick comes over and he gives this big speech, which was a really good speech. I liked his speech. And then, you know, all the Alexandrians, they may maybe not trust him yet, but then Aaron has his speech, which kind of explains Rick's actions and how it was good what he did. We needed what he did. If he hadn't done that, this could be, you know, 10 times worse. But I thought it was funny how Rick is over there and he's just yelling, and then he says, "We need to be quiet," and he's screaming. I thought that was really funny. But then we noticed when Rick tried to radio Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham, they didn't answer. And I think we can assume that the next episode is going to take place at the same time that this episode did. So Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham are going to be going through their shit while, you know, Rick and Jesse are kissing or whatever. And then we're going to end with nighttime, because in this episode we end with the nighttime. So what's it going to be? Episode 6 is going to end with the night. 7 and 8 hopefully will be No Way Out. 2 episodes of that I think would be really cool, and hopefully we get to see Glenn. I don't think we'll see Glenn next episode. I think we'll see him hopefully in 7, maybe 8. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see him in next episode. As for the walls bleeding at the end, you know, I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know what that means. You know, the only thing I can think of is, if you guys remember in the very first episode when they're getting the herd and they have the RV there, you know, and the couple cars and the balloons and the flares, on that corner where they're trying to turn the zombies. We have the zombies kind of smashing into the wall, and a lot of them are dying. So maybe that's what's happening. Those zombies are just like crushing into the wall and the blood seeping through. So maybe with enough zombies crushing into a wall, that could actually collapse the walls and the zombies could get in. Maybe that's how they're going to get in. I am going to be making a prediction video for next episode and the 2 episodes after that, kind of what I think is going to happen. I have a couple good predictions on how the zombies are going to get in there. One of those involves a mistake that Morgan made, so maybe, you know, Morgan could put a lot of people's lives in jeopardy. Yeah, so that's basically all that I have on this episode. It was a decent episode. You know, if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it like an 8.5. You know, nothing terrible happened. We learned some good stuff, so it was a decent episode. You know, wasn't crazy with action, but I think it was needed. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments, and I'll definitely answer those questions in my next video. I want to know what you guys think about the walls bleeding, though. You know, I have no idea. Of course, what I said is my only thoughts on that. But let me know what you guys think on that. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, a like would be much appreciated. Share it if you want. Subscribe if you have not, and I will see you guys next time.